Hello and welcome to today's episode. Just before we get to the episode itself, I have a few announcements to make. I have been thinking for months and months how to best describe what I do, and my clients finally helped me to find the words that resonate with me. So, what I do is that I help people to figure out how to eat, think, and move so they can reach their goals and sustain them without stressing about food. So if you resonate with these words as well, and you would like to live, eat, and move mindfully, I'm currently taking in new clients. Just send me a message. Link is provided in the description below. And now to the episode. Today I speak with Georgie Fear, the co-author of the book Give Yourself More, a science-backed 6-part plan for women to hit their weight loss goals by defying diet culture. If you are a man, don't turn off the podcast just yet because what we speak about applies to any gender. During our talk, you will find out what the book is actually about, and how the diet culture is a toxic environment, how it holds us back from achieving our weight loss goals, and what you can do about it. So if you like the podcast, please share it, like it, enjoy. Hello Georgie, thank you very much for coming here today to join me, and I actually have some questions for you about your new book that you co-authored.
Awesome.
It is actually Give Yourself More book, right? And I was thinking like how to introduce this podcast, how to introduce this episode, and like Give Yourself More. It's about how to lose weight for women specifically, and with denying the diet culture. So what is it like? Is it some kind of new diet, or what is it about?
Sure. It's always been a bit of a challenge to describe this project because it is promising to women that they can achieve a lower body weight, but it's so much more than weight loss. And I hope you understood some of that when you looked at it, that actually the things in this book are about living a better life and feeling more happy and hopeful and like our needs are met. And the weight loss happens to just be a side effect.
Right. So basically, the intended audience that you are trying to grab are people, specifically women, who want to lose weight. But the approach that you are taking in the book, as you mentioned, is not about weight loss specifically, but as you said, it's a side effect of all the other things.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at what leads people to gain weight, the obvious answer is taking in too many calories and exercising too little. But if we go a layer deeper and we say, why? Why do we do that? Why do we not exercise and stay rooted in one place? Why do we want to eat more food and more processed unhealthy food than is good for us, or more than our body needs? We can often find that there's things that are lacking, like a person's not having enough rest, and so they end up eating lots of cookies or chocolate to try and give themselves some energy to get through the day. Or they're not having enough fun and joy, so they really look forward to the once in a blue moon they can go out with their friends, and then they drink way too much that one night. And so the overconsumption is tied to the lack, the fact that these things aren't abundant enough in a person's life. So Aleisha, my co-author, and I, we embarked on this project basically because it is something that we see over and over in our clients. People that don't rest enough start using food to try and fill that need instead of getting rest. And people who are not comfortable dealing with their emotions, again, turning to food and also skipping exercise. I mean, I think a lot of people's food and fitness progress can be limited if you don't have enough energy, you can't get off the couch, and if you're having a lot of Basically, an unhealthy lifestyle is a natural consequence of a life where our needs aren't getting met. So why don't we meet our needs, and then it makes it so much easier and more downhill to live a healthy lifestyle.
Right. And let me tell you, I know exactly what you are talking about, also from the perspective of coach, but also from the perspective like I read the book. I actually spent 20 hours reading the book and taking notes. And I was thinking also how to describe my experience. And as I wrote to you over the messages, like when I started reading it, my experience did not change. And it was like I was just nodding with my head and saying like, yes, exactly, that's it. It's like so to bring or to speak more to the audience or anybody who's listening right now is like the book is divided into several parts, and the first part is about uh, being less, or well, let's say giving yourself less, and how women uh, cut themselves short, if that's the correct term to use.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times, and again, the book is addressed to women, but as you know, this is not a women's only problem, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was actually one of my questions. Like, do you know like how many men read that book, or do you have any idea?
Well, there's at least 3 Amazon reviews from men right now out of 6.
Okay,
And I hope you're going to
that's
add
quite a
one.
lot.
So
Yes, I will
I think
definitely.
there are a lot of men that have faith in Aleisha and I as level-headed scientists with good advice. And both of us have said these are not issues that only affect women. We tended to explore them from a women's perspective because obviously Aleisha and I, both identifying as women, were most familiar with those messages that we've received. And so we can write from the most authentic first person experience about how we personally went from thinking, like, you see cartoons as a little girl and you're like, oh, my body's supposed to look like that. That's funny. I don't look like Princess Jasmine or Ariel the Little Mermaid with that like tiny little waist is the same size of her neck. We're like, oh, what's wrong with my body? So there's some unique things that I think are a little more emphasized for women. Um, and so the first part of the book, part one, is all about like, how did we all end up on this simultaneous quest for less? We're trying to just eat less food, spend less time wasted, be less emotional, less needy, less whiny. We're trying to shrink our bodies, cover the wrinkles, less cellulite. It's like less, less, less.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
what'd you say?
Yes, definitely.
And so we explore in part one all the cultural messages that have pushed us in that direction. And then in the next part of the book, we offer an assessment so people can take the quiz and see, which of these areas might they be the most entrenched in the pursuit of lessness. Did you take the quiz yourself?
Yeah,
How'd
there
you?
are several areas, right? That is like in form of exercise, in form of sorry, exercise movement, in area of food and joy and so on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's 6. There's actually 6 separate areas. So movement is one of them. Body love is one of them. How much we respect and appreciate our bodies.
Yeah,
Food, emotions, pleasure, and rest are all 6 areas, and different people score differently in terms of which areas they're the most in need of more.
right. So there's like one of those things, and you actually also described in the book that one of the areas. Let's maybe speak more about these areas, like how do women use exercise as a punishment, for example. That was kind of interesting topic, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of in. So in part one, many people, men and women, have come to view exercise as kind of the thing that you do to negate the food that you've eaten. Like, oh, if I ate an extra donut, I better try and do 2 workouts tomorrow. Or we really hate the workouts that we do at the gym and we hate our trainer and we complain and we talk about how we dread it, but we go because we feel like we have to. And it sets up this relationship where we kind of avoid exercise and we don't enjoy it at all. And it's no wonder that if you hate something, sooner or later you stop doing it and you don't go back.
Right. And on the other perspective, on the other side of that is also compulsive exercising that you mentioned in the book.
Yeah, a lot of times if people are exercising as a compulsion, it feels like it's not a joy or it's not a treat anymore. It's something they have to do. So, a thinking that exercise is something that you have to do to alleviate your anxiety and you have to do it every single day for hours or to feel more relaxed about eating, that's not a healthy, balanced way either. Ideally, we'd find a variety of exercises that we really enjoy and that they keep our body healthy, but they don't overdo it. We need to balance it out with rest and recovery as well. Otherwise, we just beat
Yeah.
ourselves to a pulp.
Yes, and this is exactly one of those things that I also see in my female clients that, like you mentioned, they exercise to eat and they also exercise as a punishment in that way to offset what they ate before, and they completely forget about the resting and they forget about that our body needs energy just to function properly
Totally.
without even exercising.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know our basal metabolic rate for most people is going to be about your body weight in pounds times 10. And that's if you just laid around all day. So for most people, that's the caloric equivalent of, if somebody's 100 pounds or between 100 and 200 pounds, it's like running 10 to 20 miles a day in terms of calorie expenditure just to keep your body operating at maintenance. So the exercise that you add on is a relatively small component.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that is just the exercise part. But then when we put also these other areas of our life into the mix, like you mentioned or write in the book, it's like running from emotions and cutting calories, macros, even whole food groups, then this can be really damaging to a woman's body or to anybody's body.
Absolutely. So many weight loss programs out there are based on taking away food options. Like, oh, what if I just didn't eat carbs? Or what if I just didn't eat sugar? Or what if I just didn't eat for 14 hours of the day? And many times there's what people aren't exploring is what if I added nutrients to my day? What if I tried to eat more fruits and vegetables? What if I tried to pay more attention to how satisfied I feel while I'm eating my food? What if I tried to be more open to feeling hungry before I eat and noticing that as a positive signal that my body's ready for more food? There's so many ways that we can add more to our food life instead of focusing on like less, no, avoid, take away.
Yeah, definitely we can. And I really love how you turned that less into more. And that is basically what you were actually referring now is the second part of the book, or the third part actually. And it was about how to strive for more in terms of food.
Yeah. Did any parts of that stick out to you as something that you think you want to try or something that you think your clients need to try to give themselves more?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are so many things that, as I mentioned, I'm just nodding with my head as I'm reading it, and look, my notes from the book look like a transcription of the book. So, no, I mean, there are so many things that stood out to me. either from my perspective or from my like client's perspective, and I will be definitely implementing them. But just let me check through my notes. So what is it? Yes, for example, resting more. That's one of the things that we already mentioned.
It's true, though. It's
But
so common for people to not rest enough.
yeah, but besides that, I think what I really loved about the book that it's not focused on nutrition specifically. Like you mentioned nutrition and the things that you also already said here, like that we need some calories to function and so on, but it's the book as itself doesn't focus on uh, providing some kind of meal plan or nutrition strategy or don't eat sugar or avoid meat or anything like that, but rather really focuses on how to think in a way that actually improves your life and you lose weight or improve your weight. For somebody it can be even gaining weight, I believe,
Right? Yeah.
uh, to give yourself more in that sense,
Hmm.
and actually to benefit from that. And I really see it also in my clients that once they change their mindset, like everything starts to fit into place. And I think the biggest part, or the part of the book that is especially focused on that topic, is just giving yourself more pleasure or creating more pleasure in your life.
Yeah. It's like we're all hardworking adults, and sometimes it seems like there's more responsibility than anything else, and just not much fun in, especially Monday through Friday. And I think that's partly to explain why people have so much trouble on the weekends, because they're trying to make up for day after day of a joyless existence. So some of the tips that we provide in Give Yourself More are to start noticing the small pleasures that may already exist in your day that you haven't really looked at before. For example, a lot of people have to go outside and take the dog out in the morning. And so if we think of it as like, oh, one more chore, got to take the dog out, more work for me, it doesn't feel joyful. But if we think of it as, every day I'm going to take this dog outside and I'm going to see the sky and I'm going to smell some fresh air and I might hear some birds and I'll pet my dog and enjoy his companionship for a second or two. We start to experience joy in places where we haven't even noticed it before, but without changing anything. It's not like you need to fit another hour or two of things into your schedule. It's just a matter of looking for small things that are pleasant. And then there's also, room in many people's lives to do less of the activities that are just like time fillers, like social media or TV or just scrolling around the internet or the news, and actually replace that with something that is actually bringing you joy. Many times these time fillers, they're not really negative, they're not really positive, they're just kind of like idling our brains. And so if we replace that time with something that actually feels like it's joyful, then it can reduce in wanting so much less of the foods that we may turn to just for fun. So lower nutrition foods like excess desserts or excess alcohol. By all means, we're not trying to get to none of those, but it's if we don't have any joy other than those foods and drinks, they tend to just become many in number. But if we have 100 different sources of joy, like, yeah, I like a cookie, don't get me wrong, but I also love my workouts and I love the outdoors and I love music and I love my dog and I love hugs from my husband. And I get to enjoy all these things on a regular basis. We tend to not go to any of those food or drink categories excessively. Does that make sense?
To me, it does completely. I hope that for everybody else as well.
Yeah. It's like instead of having only food for joy, we have 100 different
Right.
things for joy. So we get more joy without always having it be food.
I think that this can be some kind of thing that people also need to experience for themselves
Hmm.
and to experiment. and take action. So take action and try it out. Like try to bring more joy into your life, and you will see how. I actually see it in one of my clients. Ever since she actually started being, let's say, more joyful person, she managed to.
Hmm.
She also started moving more. She started doing well gymnastic classes,
Oh,
which
wow.
she did not before. She started swimming. She started expressing herself basically in a movement in different ways, and she's losing her excess weight like crazy.
Oh, wow. How cool.
And that's exactly the part that before she could not do it. She had a meal plan, she had an exercise plan, but nothing seemed to work. But the part that worked for her was changing her mindset, becoming a more joyful person. And I mean, uh, how do you become a more joyful? Like you already mentioned, like there are many things, and there is not probably a specific cure for everybody, but you already noticed some of these things, like not using activities just for fillers, time fillers, or activity fillers, but actually use them or focus on things that you enjoy, or maybe explore something new and explore what you like and do that.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's like nobody else is going to make our lives better. So if we're not happy, we have to step in. Like we're the ones who give ourselves more. Somebody else isn't going to show up and like magically start giving us everything we want. So we do it ourselves. I guess this book is kind of a how-to manual to make your body and your life just a better place to be in.
Yeah, and your mind.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, we're with our minds 24 hours a day for all of our lives. So, I think, having healthier thought patterns and less distress and less worry and less fear, because we have more skills to handle them, it really does make people happier.
It definitely does, and it reminds me of the passage in the book where there was also written like about exploring your emotions and naming them, and that you specifically uh, sometime before, you had only like two ways how to describe how you
Yeah.
feel or how you are.
Yes, I tell my clients this all the time. Until I was like 29 or 30, I was like, I had two feelings, like I was good or I was bad. Like I didn't really ever feel angry, and I didn't really ever feel happy or disappointed or excited. I kind of was like numb, and I would be like thumbs up or thumbs down. I didn't really, and I was so used to suppressing everything. And my whole day was about like, what do other people want? Is anybody mad at me? Do I need to fix anything? I was just constantly living, taking care of everybody around me and trying to make sure they were all happy. And when I was alone, I was just kind of like relaxing. It was this like emotionless sort of state. I just didn't feel stuff. But I did feel when I was bad, like when I had bad feelings, I wanted to eat cookies, chocolate cookies. And I would eat a lot of chocolate cookies. And I started to explore that, maybe there was a link here. Maybe I didn't have to eat cookies when I felt bad. And then that left me kind of going, well, what the hell else do I do if I feel so bad and I don't want to just eat cookies because my weight was, higher than I would like it to be? What do I do instead? And then it was like, well, I guess I have to figure out what sort of bad I'm feeling, because if you don't have a specific label or a specific idea for what your emotional state is, you can't really take steps to help yourself feel better, can you? So, kind of getting to diagnosing the situation a little more accurately led me to learn some new words and learn to identify other emotional states that I have. And that's exactly what I walk people through in the book is, well, if you think you only kind of feel thumbs up or thumbs down, there's probably hundreds of different feelings that are going on that you haven't noticed are actually different. And when you get to notice all these different feelings, you can then choose, like, how do I respond to each of these feelings? Because they may each call for different actions. What were you going to say?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So there's exercises in the book to start noticing all of your different emotions. And then it also talks about what you can do with those emotions. Sometimes expressing them is really helpful. I think your client who is expressing herself through all these different types of movement, that can be really healing and help us feel a lot better, even if we're not particular like the people who would want to write or speak or sing or draw. Movement can be a great way of expressing ourselves. And then sometimes there's other actions that we can take too, such as communicating if we haven't been communicating with other people, or um, thinking about accepting our thoughts in new ways. Sometimes the way that we relate to our thoughts can impact how distressed we feel by them. So there's a lot of psychological skills in this book as well. So it teaches how to handle feelings in the sense that sometimes handling the feeling is taking steps that make it lesser, that make it lighter, that make it more comfortable. And then other times, the most appropriate step to take with the feeling is just to notice that it's uncomfortable, but it's not going to be here forever, and you'll be okay. For example, if somebody passes away, if we lose somebody that we really love, it's natural and normal to grieve. And there's not really anything we can do. We can't call somebody or make an appointment or do something that's going to fix that grief or lessen that grief. So we have to accept that that's the way we feel, that it's not going to hurt us or harm us, that it's part of a full life experience, and that time will help us move through it and find peace with it. And some other emotional states, there's something that is much more action oriented. Like if you're frustrated with somebody, pick up the phone, call them, and see if you can have a conversation to understand a little bit better. So sometimes there's a place for taking action, and then sometimes it's more beneficial for us to just accept the way we feel. So there's so many ways to handle it. It's just like handling different types of people or different types of workouts. Our emotions are a pretty rich landscape with lots of things we can explore.
Yes, definitely. So basically, yes, there is the explanation in the book. So let's call it a theory, but it's very easy to read, so not very theoretical. And there are exercises in the book, but we also have a super group on Facebook.
Yes, we did start a group on Facebook. Some of the things that we've been doing in there are noticing. The last 2 weeks we've started a Moreness Monday post, and so people are noticing any place they can give themselves a little more on Monday. And people have said things like, "I bought myself flowers. I noticed how beautiful it was outside. I gave myself permission to feel a certain way without pushing it down." And it's been really nice to hear from other people who are interested in this, because it turns out there's a lot of people that are interested in just stopping trying to be less all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And is this group open for anybody or only for people who purchase the book?
Anybody is welcome in the group. We're not going to turn anybody away. We have no way of knowing if they purchased the book anyway. But if somebody just wants to check it out, see what we're all about, they can look up Give Yourself More on Facebook and see if they like how we roll.
Hmm. And I definitely recommend everybody, like really everybody, to read that book because there are so many uh, important things written and really in a easy to comprehend way. And also, I know that you have book in electronic formats, different electronic formats. You have it printed version. You also have audible version, or maybe also basically like in the form of audiobook. I mean,
Yes,
you can
every
choose.
format. The book is available in every format. So you can get it for Kindle or an Apple reader. It's on Audible. It's on, I think Spotify even has some audiobooks now. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just Apple Music, but obviously I'm in charge of making the book, not distributing it. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered every format you could possibly want the book in.
So yes, give yourself more without excuses and buy yourself this book. Pretty much. That's how we would conclude this segment.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about the book with you, and I'm happy that you found it useful and that you think your clients would enjoy it too.
Yeah, they definitely will. And I'm actually thinking like already have in mind like people who I will be sending the book to and so on.
Great.
Okay, Georgie, so thank you very much for finding time to speak about your book and about these important things. And I appreciate your time. So maybe this would be a good time to leave. Like, where can people follow you if they want to? How can they connect with you?
Sure. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to hear from them. You can learn more about me and follow my work at georgiefear.com. And you can also contact me through a contact form on that page if you have any questions. And you can also find me on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. There's not too many people named Georgie Fear out there. So I'd love to be friends on Facebook.
Yeah, take space on Facebook. Anyway, all these links will be mentioned down in the description below, so you can easily find them. And that's for this episode. You have a great day. Thank you for listening. As always, you will find all the important links, notes, timestamps in the description and on the podcast page on my website at danwise.eu. If you like this episode and this podcast, don't forget to leave a rating and a review. Besides sharing, it is the best way how to spread the word and bring new, interesting guests, topics which will help you lead a healthy and fulfilled life. You can also support me and show appreciation for what I do via Patreon page. Link is in the description. You can post your comments and ask questions by emailing me to questions@danwise.eu. Once again, the link is in the description. I wish you a healthy and productive day.